Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a very interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Microtech and Rike Socom Bravo. This knife is made in China. It is not made in the United States. The Microtech Socom Elite is made in the United States. I want to say this before we get started here. I called Microtech, didn't tell them who I was, called them just to double check. I said, hey, you guys have the Socom Elite and you have the new Socom Bravo. Is the Bravo replacing the Elite? And the woman I spoke with, very kind, said, no, we're still going to make the Socom Elite, which is a different model here in the United States. And then we'll have the Socom Bravo, which is just a separate thing. The Socom Bravo is a production knife. This is a collaboration with Rike, but the original design, the original Bravo, was a custom design, a much more expensive knife. And so by having Rike make this in China, it's substantially less expensive. People have very strong opinions, one side or the other, about that. I'm going to review this knife. I'm going to give it a fair review, just like every other knife on this channel. But before you assume my stance on this, wait till the end of the video. I've got a lot to say, especially when it comes to these two specifically, when it's being compared to the American Socom Elite. So stick around, listen to the whole video. Anyways, thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. I'll move this guy out of the way, do some measurements here real quick. This was not sent to me by Microtech. I did not get it for free. I bought it. I wanted to get one without, not that they would have sent me a sample anyway, truthfully. I don't think they even know who I am, and that's fine. But I just wanted to, purchase it and get it and, so I could organically say, yeah, here's exactly what I think about it. Overall length of the Socom Bravo, excuse me, right at 9 inches. Blade length is exactly 4 inches and the cutting edge is exactly 3.75. Size comparisons. Here it is up against the Socom Elite, which we're at a little bit of an angle here, so depending on which one's on bottom, one always looks a little bit bigger. They are almost identical. I think, let me get this. The Socom Elite, no, they're exactly the same, 9 inches. We're going to talk more about differences with these two guys later in the video, but let's go ahead and get the general specs out of the way. Oh yeah, where can you get this? People are so confused. I hope they make more. I can't find them, right? You have to email Microtech. There's no specific information on their website as far as I understand. They don't have them listed on their website. There's no listing where you can just go click, which is odd. The process for getting these, I had to check out a post on Instagram. And now this is true as of the time of this upload. If you're watching this a year or two in the future, then it may be different, right? But check the date on the video. If it's close to it, when you're watching it, then this is probably still the case. I found the instructions on their Instagram, on the post about the Socom Bravo. It said you got to email us, let us know what you're looking for, we'll respond, we'll take your credit card information over email, which was weird, and honestly, not something I would have done unless it was Microtech. I was okay with it, I was like, okay, well, it's been a pretty big company, been around for a while, I'm going to do that. That's how you do this. So, if you have Instagram, go to their page, you can check out the instructions there. If you don't, I would imagine you can just find their email address on their website and inquire about it. Anyways, let's go ahead and finish up here with the size comparisons up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. You can see here, this is a big boy. It's just like the Socom Elite. It's a big knife, right? How about up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2? Whoops. Yeah, right, there you go. Still a big knife. Last but not least, the Benchmade, Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Out. All right, let's go ahead and do thickness of the knife up against the Spyderco Para 3. How's the action? Boy, it's good. It was a bit tight when I got it. Very smooth now that it has broken in. It's been I've had this for a couple of weeks now. I don't know when you guys are seeing the video, but in my time, it's been a couple of weeks. Thickness, really not all that thick. In fact, the knife is just about the same. I mean, these edges are heavily chamfered, right? So maximum thickness is a bit, boy, it's just a hair thicker than like the Spyderco Para 3, which is funny. Up against the Socom Elite, you can see here the aluminum is much thicker. The blade stock thickness is the same, but it's actually quite a bit thinner than the aluminum scales on the Socom Elite. Let's do carry profile, length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. You can see here, it's still a big boy, definitely. Longer than the Spyderco PM2, definitely longer than Para 3. Height, maximum height, this is gonna be the tallest, the widest point. And you know, if you go from like here, if we line this spot up right here and then up to the peak, yeah, it does get, excuse me, it does get pretty wide. I just got off the treadmill, and for whatever, that always just makes me cough. But it is pretty tall. So this is still going to be a big object. And it's a fairly heavy object. This is not something that I would want to carry in athletic shorts or tight pants, for sure. Let's go ahead and measure the blade stock thickness. I believe, I haven't actually done this yet. I believe it's exactly the same as the Socom Elite, which is about 190 thousandths. So let's see here. It says about 180 thousandths. Okay, somewhere around 1/5 of an inch. Materials. We are looking at titanium, carbon fiber. Very, very good looking carbon fiber. That's real nice. And M390. So yeah, that's what we're looking at for materials. Weight. It does weigh more than the Socom Elite, and I'll weigh the Socom Elite right now. Socom Elite comes in at 5.15 ounces. And this guy, right, titanium and carbon fiber, coming in at 5.68 ounces, which probably is surprising for a lot of people. A little over half an ounce more. Yeah, I don't really view that as a negative. I mean, do with that information what you will. The ratios weren't perfect on the... You know, it's not like these are the same knife. They're not the same knife. It's just that this is what it's being compared to, right? I mean, this is what people want to know, so I'm giving you guys the details. This is heavier than this guy, not by much. All right, moving on here. Hardware check. Get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the description, the section that talks about my tools. I have a T8 in here. The pivot, I believe, is a T15. That's what that, it's a gigantic pivot. Oh, it might actually be a T20. Let's try that. I'll just pull it out and give her a go here. There's a T20. Gosh, is it? Yeah, it's a T20. I love that. I absolutely love it. The bigger, you know, the bigger the better. You're not gonna strip. It's not gonna strip. The rest of the screws here are, I believe, T8. Let's give it a go. Yeah. Now this is cool. There's a lot of them. They're all over the place because we have 1, 2, 3. Right, we have 4, 5, 6. You know, this stop pin stuff back here, and then likely underneath these scales here, these overlay scales, there's going to be screw. In fact, you can actually even see inside here where that. Sorry, I just bumped the camera. Where the threads are for those screws, right? And you're not seeing the screw itself, but you can actually see where the screws can go in, and that area back there is threaded, and maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, there are more screws. Now I don't know what those screws are. I suppose, yeah. Why don't we just figure it out real quick? And this is mine, so whatever. We'll just take these screws off right here and get a look underneath. And I should do this more often. There we go. Okay, so underneath, you can see how that's slotted in there so that the screws can kind of go in. Underneath, actually, it is more T8 screws. 1, 2, 3 more. Not sure why we have a flat one back here and some raised ones, but these are all T8 as well. So this guy's got a lot of hardware on it. It's not to say that the Socom Elite doesn't. You know, it's like a lot of hardware sucks. So if I'm going to have a lot of hardware, I'd rather it be T8 than T6. The Socom Elite definitely has less hardware, but it's still a bunch of T6 screws, which is bothersome. So this thing sort of slid around. It took a little bit to get it to where it would want to come off because those heads are sticking underneath those lips right there. But yeah, the fitment of this is just really, really good. Everything about this, I mean, the fit and finish on this knife is just so ridiculous. Everything is so perfectly machined. And that's, you know, I've got another Rike, and I've handled a few others. That's just the name of the game. You know, not to say that it's not like I'm saying that it's better than what I've, you know, seen from Microtech. Microtech's American fit and finish is also really excellent. But yeah, everything here is, I mean, there's more going on with this guy than the Socom Elite, and these intricate little parts are very, very well machined, and they are fitted just perfectly. So yeah, very cool. So anyways, it was nice to kind of see what's underneath there. Anyways, moving on here, let me get this stuff moved out of the way. I think we're pretty much through the initial part of that. So let's move on to the meat and potatoes. It's like I was saying, the fit and finish on this guy is beautiful. This takes after the Bravo design. I'm going to say this real quick. A lot of people, you know, talking about, well, you know, here's why the Elite is better. Here's why this, again, you know, even though I'm showing these two in the video, I'm doing that because this is how they're being compared. The Bravo is the Bravo, and the Elite is the Elite. So the original Socom Bravo blade was extremely similar to this. I don't know if it had exactly the same dimensions, but it was a Microtech blade. Like Microtech had already been doing that with the Bravo, right? So a lot of people are saying, well, the Bravo is not as good because it has a thicker grind. You know, it depends on what you're buying this for. It definitely does. I mean, the Socom Elite, sorry, I'm getting a piece of paper. Socom Elite absolutely has a thinner grind. It's funny because when the Socom Elite came out in 2018, there were a lot of people who were bent out of shape that the grind on the Socom Elite was so much thicker than the, you know, than its predecessor blade, right? The older Socom had a thinner grind and a thinner blade stock, and it was better, right? So yeah, I mean, the Socom Bravo has a thicker grind. The Socom Elite slices really well. The Socom Bravo also slices. It's not gonna cut as well, right? If you're gonna go out and really use the Socom Bravo, you'll probably find that it drags a little bit more and gets hung up a little bit more than the Socom Elite, right? But, you know, it depends what you're going to do with it, right? It's your money. If you want to buy it and just have it and look at it, well, then you can, because there's lots to behold, right? We exist in a knife world, whether we like it or not, where knife enthusiasts buy knives that have enthusiast elements, right? Sometimes it is a blade that is ground in a way that is appealing for more than just how well it functions. And, you know, if you're a purist when it comes to pocket knives, you believe that every last element of the knife should be utilitarian. Well, first off, you're probably watching the wrong channel. I'm definitely a knife enthusiast. And, you know, number two, I mean, here's your options. You can have the rat. You can have the rat too. I'm just joking. But yeah, enthusiast elements exist on knives. They're there. They're everywhere, right? So it's definitely present here. And it's definitely present. I mean, you know, if we're really going to split hairs, there's definitely overkill when it comes to the the Socom Elite here. This is definitely still, you know, kind of enthusiast knife territory anyway. So anyways, the blade is very impressive. You are going to get hung up in here, right? It is definitely thicker behind the edge, and just in general, this is a knife that is thick behind the edge. As you can see, thick knives can still slice, definitely, but you're going to get hung up more often. It's going to be the case when you're using this thing. If you are doing extended cutting into materials like cardboard, rubber, rope, things like that, it's not going to do excellent, right? The Socom Elite is also not going to do excellent. They'll both do it, though, right? And you're going to have gunk in here. This area is just gorgeous on the blade. The way that they did this, I don't know if it's like a glass bead blast, and then we've got some satin flats here. The blade looks beautiful. It does not look like a typical bead blast. You know, like if you go to Walmart and buy a Gerber and it's bead blasted. No, not the same finish at all. This is beautiful. It does bum me out that Microtech insisted on putting they still have their big stamp, right? So you got serial number, Socom Bravo, SE, or standard edge, or single edge, I think. And then it says Microtech, and then it's the date that it was made, and then it says M390. And then on the other side it says Rike. It's fine if we want to put the logo on, but it's just so much. Like, Microtech does this with all their stuff. It just drives me nuts. If they ever do a shadow version of this, which they should, that would be excellent, because then we don't have to look at all of that stuff. It drives me nuts that Microtech insists on putting all that stuff all over the blade. But okay, I mean, it's really not hurting anything. The thumb studs are still stops, which is cool. I like that. There's a lot of surface contact, and it's also mitigating pressure away from the pivot, which is definitely the weakest point if you are doing some sort of, you know, torquing, twisting sort of cuts, things like that, which can happen sometimes when you're coming in and out of dense material. Very durable. Still not as durable as a fixed blade by a long shot, but yeah, durable. The blade has no overly sharp edges except for the edge itself, and the edge is sharpened perfectly, you know, as perfectly as they can for the geometry. And it's just really, really, really good to look at. I can't stress that enough. It's really something to behold. The blade is, there's a lot of impressive features on this knife, but the blade is the most impressive part. I do like the titanium sort of bolster look. The carbon fiber, like I said, is gorgeous. It's really, really nice carbon fiber. Everything is machined really well. I also really like this sub frame lock thing that they've got going on. That pivot collar is cool. It looks good. You have an option of blue or bronze. I really would have preferred, I saw some early images where they just had the pivot collars maybe before they had anodized it, and it was just a plain silver, and I honestly think that looks better. I wish that they had offered it in plain silver, blue, and bronze. But they didn't, so I went with blue. And yeah, a lot of people, you know, somebody mentioned I can strip the ano off of that if I want to. And yeah, maybe, I don't know, I'll probably just leave it. You know, having an option with a silver pivot collar, and better yet, a shadow version of this, which I'm sure they'll do, that would be ideal for a lot of reasons. But yeah, all of the machining, everything is great. Ergonomically, it's still kind of like not the friendliest thing in the world. I mean, you can hold on to it, right? And there are lines that indicate like, hey, this is kind like this, you know, if you were to hold this with a human hand, like here's where your hands go, right? It's the original Socom is okay as well. It's still not overly comfortable. I will say though, truthfully, the Socom Elite is a little more comfortable to hang on to, and that's because some of these edges are abruptly, I'm not going to call them sharp, they're just very angular, right? Now, the nice thing for me here is the pocket clip is positioned in the better position, right? It's just me. I like tip up. Finally, they did tip up, right? On the Socom Elite, which again is a different design, but it's what we're comparing this to because this is what's currently the thing, is tip down only, which is a bummer because I don't like the position. I don't like the knife being in that position. I also don't like how the pocket clip feels. So, Elite, better overall ergonomics, hate the pocket clip position. Bravo, Socom Bravo production, much better pocket clip position, and honestly a way better pocket clip. But it's kind of angular, and it's kind of, you know, if you're just going to get it out and make a quick cut, no big deal. But if you're going to cut with this thing for 30 minutes and with your bare hands, your hands are going to be in rough shape afterwards. Plain and simple. It's just, it is what it is. Action. Boy, this thing is, it is so close to drop shut. I adjusted the pivot just a little bit. I'd forgotten about this. I checked the thing and I was so surprised it was a T20 and I was like, wait, I knew that. And then in my head I was like, well, I knew that because I've, you know, adjusted the pivot on my Socom Elite. No, it's because I adjusted this a little bit. It was really falling shut, and what I decided to do is get it as smooth as possible and put some, and it was doing that on its own. I decided to, you know, to put some 10-weight nano oil on it. And then I realized, oh, I think the pivot may have loosened up a little bit because I wrenched on it pretty hard. I could feel it moving. So I turned this back just a little bit, put some nano oil on it, and now it's totally solid and very close to falling shut, but very smooth, extremely consistent, nice and controlled. The detent on this guy is lighter. It's a little bit lighter than this guy. Not by a lot, right? I think some people might have been blowing that out of proportion. Here's the detent on this guy, right? And here's the detent on this guy. It's like this guy feels about 90%, right? There's also a nice satisfying noise when this thing gets deployed. The Socom Elite definitely is a lot more authoritative. But yeah, no, it is satisfying actually. Like deploying the Socom Elite because of the aluminum, it just makes it, and it also feels more, yeah, you know? So yeah, satisfaction of deployment, Socom Elite still for sure. The Bravo has its own thing, feels nice and smooth. It feels more luxurious and less aggressive and tactical. It's not quite as satisfying. The action is extremely smooth. Very luxurious feeling action. Action on the Socom Elite is very good. Doesn't quite feel as smooth, but it's also very close to dropping shut. It's just a little bit more frictiony, right? But not, I mean, it's still very good. The action on this guy just feels a bit more luxurious. And people are going to prefer different types of actions. Not necessarily that one is better than the other. This is just extremely consistent, very smooth, right? Very, like, fall shut hydraulic, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm, you know, too much. You can easily reverse flick it or forward flick it. You can't really front flip it. In fact, you can't front flip it at all. And there's no way to get your finger into that little fuller thing, which was a bummer because when I saw that blade, I was like, ooh, cool, I can like reverse flip now. It doesn't stick up enough. But yeah, really nice action. There's still a lanyard hole for some reason. I have no idea why, right? You know, but those, you know, however many lanyard people are left are pumped about that. This full body backspacer, I actually really like it. I like how this looks a lot. There's a lot going on with this. Some people like it, some people don't. I think this looks really cool. It's somewhat aggressive, but you know, once you're locked in here, it's not likely you're going to drop it. There's quite a bit of jimping all over this thing, and there's not a, you know, you're going to be locked in. But I just appreciate how this looks. There's a lot of machine work going on with this, and it looks good. The pocket clip itself is great, other than two things. One, this should never happen, ever. We should never have a lanyard hole being prioritized over the clip. And that's not to say the deeper the carry, the better. But it's already, you know, like we're all the way down here. We got a lot that's going to be sticking up out of the pocket, right? Moved up just a little bit higher, it would have been perfect. We could have easily turned this hole into just a bar back here. And then the lanyard folks can have their lanyard, right? But they did it like this, so okay. The other thing that bothers me is they did this. Instead of the bill of the clip, you know, from down here going up, it comes up and over, which is always something that you have to fight when it comes to your pocket. I don't like using two hands, and I know this sounds whiny. I don't like using two hands to put the knife in my pocket. I want to use one hand. Just take the knife and push it into my pocket. It's a lot easier when it's a, you know, it goes down and then up, continuous rise, right? Which easily could have been accomplished with just a swoop upward. Keep it flat, but this meat down here, the titanium, swooping upward instead of coming up and over. It's fine. It's pretty high, so it'd take a pretty thick pocket seam, but it still is pinchy and it doesn't want to glide the best. It's okay. It's not wonderful. The clip itself looks great. It's 3D machined, which is cool. Overall, I think a much better clip than the one on the Socom Elite. That's just my opinion, though. We have a steel lock bar insert that is doubling as the over travel stop, which is cool. Just a lot of potential surface contact there. And the geometry here of the blade tang in relationship to the lock bar is very good. This is absolutely solid. There's no slip whatsoever. No blade play now that I have got the pivot tightened down to exactly where I want it. Very, very smooth. Just very, very good. I mean it. No hint of blade play. No lock stick. This guy from 2018 still has just a hint. Just a hint. Not bad. I don't even really care anymore, but you can hear it. Just a little bit. Not that big of a deal. Which one's more reliable lock? I don't know. I mean, truthfully, I prefer the countersunk titanium liner lock in this guy. It's plenty thick. I doubt it's any more or less reliable than this guy. The reason I prefer it is it's not exposed on this side. It doesn't matter how hard I squeeze, you know, where my fingers are when I'm deploying. It doesn't matter because it's underneath the frame. This guy, while this looks a lot cooler, it definitely, I mean, listen, this whole knife, in my opinion, if you don't like the aesthetics of it, well, then fine. But there's a lot more going on here. There's a lot more for a knife enthusiast to look at and go, wow, right? There's just more going on here. Like, this looks cool, but functionally, I still would prefer the countersunk liner lock thing, right? So, yeah. And then centering is absolutely perfect. I mean, it is absolutely perfectly right. I'm trying to emphasize this as best I can. Perfectly right down the center. No blade play up, down, left, or right. No pivot lash, no hint of pivot lash, and no detent lash either. So how much is this? $325. It comes in Tanto, comes in drop point, or half serrated Tanto, half serrated drop point. $325, that's more than the American Socom Elite. That's terrible, right? Because this guy's $285. Well, first of all, when these eventually do become available again, I would not be surprised if these guys are well over $300. This is M390 in aluminum with some titanium. I think that lock bar is titanium. Where is my magnet? Right here, yeah. Yeah, that's titanium. So a little bit of titanium, some aluminum, and some M390 with some track stuff inserts, right? Made in the United States, made in China. There's a lot more going on here. There's way more work that goes into the blade, that goes into the titanium and the scales. All of this. This is so much more, right? So yeah, if they made this exact knife in China, if Rike was making the Socom Elite with aluminum and M390, they machined it exactly like this, well then yeah, it'd cost way less. But they're not. They're doing this. Truthfully, I was kind of shocked to see that this, and I know people are going to roll their eyes. Oh my gosh, Metal Complex, you know, with his weird view on pricing. Legitimately, I was kind of surprised that this was only $325. If Microtech did this, number one, when they did this, it was a custom. I can't remember what the price was. It was well over $1,000. Let's say they made a full production, like they do the Socom Elite. They did a full production version of the Socom Bravo, looking just like this, but it's all US made. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but the truth is you're talking about a $700 or maybe even an $800 knife. You're not going to get this made in the United States. Exactly this. You're not going to get it for this price. It's just not going to happen. But it's just titanium and M390. It's not necessarily just about the materials. Sure, they play a role. But how this is all done, oh my gosh, there's a lot of work here. This is really, really impressive, right? So, as far as the the Socom Bravo goes, there's some weird things, right? It's definitely not going to be for everybody, right? All the, politics aside, just when it comes down to the knife, that's all I do here, guys. I'm not really interested in any other angle except for the knife itself. You guys can be. I mean, you guys, you can have whatever opinion you want. But yeah, when it comes down to the knife itself, it's going to be too big and too heavy for some people. It's going to be illegal for some people. The blade grind is going to drive some people crazy because it's not as thin as the Socom Elite, and the Elite is already fairly thick behind the edge, right? So yeah, that's going to be the case. Some people are not going to like the position of the pocket clip, little things like that. And I mean, hey, $325 is still a lot of money. To the general enthusiast, there are a lot of elements here that make this thing really cool. I mean, this is really, it's not like I'm not saying like, wow, it's a sub frame lock, M390 carbon fiber. I've never seen that before. No, they exist. But this, man, this is easily one of the nicest knives that you can get out. Like for people who do appreciate those other elements. If you're not a utilitarian purist, right? If you're a utilitarian purist, I don't know why you're watching my channel. But for the enthusiasts out there who will pay for some of these elements, this is some of the listen. It's not much contested. I've got a 300 and what were these? $350. This is also made in China. This is the Chavez 229 Redemption. Titanium rectangles attached to a belt satin finished M390 blade. $350. Not many people complaining about that. This is $25 less than this. Yeah, I am pretty amazed with the price there. So, can I recommend this knife? I think, for the vast majority of people, this is just incredibly overkill. If you're a knife enthusiast, right, and the origins of this knife don't bother you, they do bother some people. It's not really the goal. The responsibility I feel is just giving you guys my thoughts about the knife. The channel's about knives, so I'm going to talk about the knife. If you are an enthusiast who appreciates these elements, I think this is honestly pretty good. In fact, it's better than pretty good for the price. It's honestly pretty amazing versus the competition out there. If we consider country of origin, right? Machine work and materials and things like that. Yeah, wow. Freaking cool. It's still not going to be for the vast majority of people. As far as my preferences between this and this, if you don't know, I am somebody who will go out of their way to purchase knives that are made in the United States. If I have the option, right, with the Bravo, I already own this, thanks to my wife, I own an American Socom Elite. If they had made this exact knife in the United States and it cost $700 or $800, which is, I'm just guessing, maybe it'd be a little less, maybe it'd be more. I don't really know because I'm not a professional. I don't make this stuff. I really don't know. I'm just speculating, right? Would I have bought the Bravo, for that price? Well, yeah, definitely. I would have had to sell something because I can't just forego that kind of money whenever I want. But I would have because I'm like, well, hey, really cool knife, U.S. made. Definitely in enthusiast territory. You can get a fully functional knife for about $50. Nobody really needs this, right? Just being clear because I know someone's going to say it. But yeah, I would have. They didn't. They made it. They had Rike make it. So I bought it. I bought it so that I could talk about it, and because I truthfully wanted it in my collection. Preference between the two. If I was going to take one out to you, let's say it's like some crazy circumstance happens, and I can only choose one to carry with me for the rest of my life. Well, I'm going to go with this. This plain, I mean, when it comes to a tool, like the enthusiast in me loves all these little features, and it's so cool. Like as a collector, yeah, sure. It checks all those boxes. It's real cool. But the Socom Elite is still the superior cutting tool. It just is. It's a superior tool for a lot of reasons. It's a little bit lighter, right? Blade's a little bit thinner. The ergonomics feel a little bit better. It has the countersunk titanium liner lock, which I think is just better for longevity and just for, function, things like that. There's also, you know, I was going to say, you know, like just it being a US made knife plays a role, but that's not a utilitarian feature, right? But it is the better tool, right? Which is a better value? It's impossible to say because it's like, well, titanium is more expensive than aluminum, but it also doesn't have any like necessary utilitarian features other than the fact that aluminum technically can corrode and titanium, well, technically it can corrode too, but it would take much more. It would take a lot longer than aluminum. It's also a little bit more durable. But I mean, like, what are we doing with it? Like, are you hammering with the knife, right? Carbon fiber, sure, plenty durable and lightweight. Strength to weight ratio is great, but I mean, the aluminum will get the job done, right? Which one is better is up to the individual, right? I mean, if you're talking about a tool, like which one's going to serve the end user better as a tool? The Socom Elite, for sure. It's a better tool, right? Which one's better for enthusiasts? Well, enthusiasts who are not concerned with the country of origin will absolutely side with the Socom Bravo. There's just more, there's way more going on. It's a more impressive build, right? Whether or not it is as functional, right? Whether or not that matters is up to the individual. So, yeah. Not a knife that I openly recommend. Neither of these knives are knives that I'm like, yeah, everyone should go out and buy. No, I mean, because it depends on what you need it for, right? But they're both great for different reasons. You know, if you like the Bravo and you don't have an issue with where it's made, well, pick it up. You'll probably like it. If you don't like how it looks, well, problem solved. You don't have to deal with it. If you do have a problem where it's made and, you know, you don't like how, maybe you're mad, I don't know, there's a million. Buy whatever one you like, if and when it's available, and or don't buy either of them, right? These are just my thoughts on them. The Bravo will be staying in my collection, though. Be a nice point of reference. This was a long video, and I think it needed to be. Some people will say it doesn't need to be. You just talk too much. Well, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I really wanted to get all of my thoughts out there. I hope that you guys got everything you wanted from this video. I hope it answered the, you know, questions you might have. But that's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Really, really cool. Very, very nice build between Rike and Microtech. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.